Thank you for taking time out with the Great Plains Athletic Conference. Sean Johnston here, supervisor of the GPAC with Training Tape number 10. Also with us, Monty Tilgener, COC Deep Wing official. Monty, how did your games this past weekend go?
Pretty good. Michigan State at Michigan night game. So yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. Came down to the wire.
It was fun watching it. And in your travels and those night games, do you travel home the next day or do you try to travel home right away that evening?
Usually the next day. Yeah. I mean, if it's a short drive, you're all hyped up and might drive home if it's 3 hours. But other than that, yeah, the next day.
When in
Hard to
doubt,
get to for those.
yeah. When in doubt, be safe, drive home in daylight. All right, with no further ado, we're going to go through these 12 clips from last week. So we're going to talk about the unnecessary roughness late hit pile on here at the end of the play. And coaches and players watching this training tape, when you put officials in a judgment box, we're going to err on the side of safety and preventing escalation of inciting future roughness. So we're going to let this play out, and then Monty, you could talk about, different situations when you would, when you wouldn't have a foul, but what players and coaches could do to avoid our judgment.
Yeah, you got that. They definitely drive that guy into the ground pretty good, and so like I said, don't put that in the official's judgment, because if they just think that's too much, then we're gonna have a foul on that, and we could make it a talk to, but if you decide it was too much and you make it a flag, it's definitely going to be supported as well. So
Yeah. So officials, if players put you in that judgment box and you get a roughness reaction, a flag would be supported. At minimum, get in there and talk to those players and let the player that just knows they just got taken to the ground that you are watching and preventing it from happening in the future. But if you throw the flag, you are trying to prevent future roughness and it will be supported. Next play is an interesting play here on a field goal attempt. And this made me get back in the rule book to get clarification on Rule 211.5 of where the defense can contact a kick to prevent the ball going beyond the neutral zone. But as Monty's going to talk to us here, it's only the initial blocking of the kick.
there's a lot of stuff going on this play. So I'm a side judge, so I'm in there as a second umpire on these. So I kind of am pretty good on the rules of these and what can all happen. So when I saw this, the ball went up in the air. I'm like, okay, when that ball comes down, first of all, you got a team B player who, kind of swats at it. And we got to be very careful with calling batting. Batting is an intentional act, not in any means trying to, possess the ball or grab the ball. So if we don't want to call batting unless we are sure. This is one where it's like, I kind of think he probably is batting it, but I would not want to put a flag down for batting. But that being said, where that ball is touched the second time is really, really important, because if it's touched in or behind the neutral zone, then we do have a live ball. But in order for team A can, because it's not touched beyond, if it's only touched in or behind, team A can pick it up, but they're going to have to get it past the line to gain, and then they would have a first down. But if that ball would have been touched, even if it comes down on one of the guys' head or his shoulder pad, and it's beyond the neutral zone, now we have a live ball that is going to be a first down for whichever team ends up in possession. However, if it's touched beyond the neutral zone by team B, even if it goes back behind, when A picks it up, it's dead. But it would be their ball, 1st and 10. So, and I know this went to review, which is great because this is reviewable. The location of the touching of of a kick, scrimmage kick, is reviewable. And if they could have definitely seen that it was touched beyond the neutral zone, then this would have been Team A's ball, since they did end up on it. Since it was not, or it was not, they weren't able to know if it was, then you're going to go with touched in or behind, which is what the ruling on the field was, which then means when A possesses that ball and is down, since they did not make the line to gain, it's going to be first down for Team B. So a lot of great things to think about. In fact, this one I'm bringing to our crew Friday night, because it's such a lot of good things to talk about.
This next one, we have crew communication that we want to talk about. We're going to have a defensive pass interference call by the side judge, and then we have other officials on the crew bringing information. I will say this, officials, when you have a flag, you have to see the whole entire action, and you have to know exactly why you have a flag, and that information has to be given to the crew on the field, and that is what has to be put in quick ref. So here we're going to play this out, and then Monty, you could talk about, is this DPI, is this not DPI, and why it is or is not.
First of all, we've got incidental, foot entanglement by the two guys on the wide side, which puts the defender down on the ground. And then we have incidental contact with the receiver and that defender on the ground when their legs touch or hit. So that would not be DPI either. But we do have DPI in the fact that while he's on the ground, after that leg contact, he reaches up and grabs the receiver's arm. You can see it best from the end zone view. So that was the problem, is we didn't have good communication between the calling official and what he saw, and the officials that came in. No one really saw the arm grab. So when he said there was contact with the feet, they said, well, that was incidental, so that's why they picked it up. But if somebody, the back judge or the side judge or the headline judge, would have seen the grab of the arm, then DPI would have been the proper call.
All right, so officials, remember, when you have your flag thrown here, make sure you give your crew exactly the reason why you have it thrown. And if you don't know, or if you're guessing, you didn't see the whole play, Monty, what do you suggest officials do if they didn't see the whole play, if they're guessing?
Yeah, you can't throw a flag on a guess. That you just got to eat it. You might be wrong, but you cannot throw a flag if you're guessing.
All right, this is another great one, and one of the benefits of myself being a supervisor, having these conversations, is learning about unique plays. So we have the hook and turn, we have a grab and restrict, we have early contact, not playing the ball, and then we have subcategories of categories. So we have a defensive pass interference here called, but we didn't quite have a category to put it in. But then Monty will talk about why this is within the hook and turn category.
So a lot of times they'll have a hook on them, and they will turn their body away from the ball, and in doing so, they'll project themselves in front to knock it away. But they also, like in this one, they'll grab them more from behind, in the jersey, in the name, where the number is, and they'll pull that back. And when they do so, they do two things. They restrict that receiver's movement, but again, that also projects them in front to be able to knock the ball down. So that is definitely, a foul for DPI. And the write-up's really important here, because was it a hook and turn? Not really. It was more of a grab and pull, pulling him into the play. So just write it up exactly like that. He grabbed the back of the player's number and restricted the receiver and propelling himself in front to be able to knock the ball down. DPI. That's a great write-up, and that's how you need to write that one up.
And while we're on pass interference, we're going to flip the side to offensive pass interference. All right, so this type of offensive pass interference, we actually have two. It's going to be the guard and the third inside receiver early blocking downfield with a pass that is caught and touched beyond the neutral zone. So we're going to talk about, Monty, sort of what officials should see these two different blocks. And this could be an example of having two flags down for offensive pass interference.
So first of all, officials, we got a big line here. We're on the 30. So I'm always trying to know what our line of scrimmage is, so I know what 1 yard downfield is, because they can legally block within that 1 yard. And then, so, as a back judge, you got that number 3 receiver. You should see him block early. And remember, just say blocking out loud when you see it. And then you've got OPI hanging. And then the second part of it is where that ball's touched, which is where we get help from our short wings. This one's really one that I think several officials could have got all by themselves. Back judge, you see the blocking right now, so you have blocking. And then if that yard line, we started on the 30, it's pretty easy to tell this ball's touched 2 yards downfield. So as far as the guard and we don't see that a whole lot, but he's releasing downfield. This is a screen, so he can go downfield and he can block downfield. But the problem is the receiver doesn't come back deep enough to get behind the line. So, who can see that guard? Umpires, a lot of times you might see a guard pass you or come out too far, or guard or a tackle, in these screen passes. So it's kind of a weird one where an umpire might have some help on OPI. Line of scrimmage guys, you might, the deep wing on the bottom of the screen, your guy's the one coming across. You're probably not going to be able to help out on that. But this is one that it would have been a good get by a few people on the crew.
All right, so now we have catch, no catch. We're going to talk about sort of the crew philosophy, call on the field, and then we'll talk about if this does go back to replay and we review it, what can the ground do, what can the ground not do, what type of movement is allowed in the hand, what type of movement is not allowed in the hand. So as we play this out.
Yeah, just remember that if any official is 100% certain they've got it incomplete, just come in and wipe it out. We've got our line judge at the top coming in and making it complete. Our back judge is coming, and I know he's coming from a distance, but that's okay. Sometimes distance is our friend, but he's got this definitely incomplete. He comes in, he sells it really good that he's got it incomplete. And you can do that, and the two of you still can get together and have a discussion. And you could, on the field, flip this if you wanted to a catch. Even though somebody wiped it out, you could have crew communication and then make sure that announcement comes over after crew communication. The pass has been ruled to be either complete or incomplete. That way the coach knows what he has as far as the challenge goes. And then when it goes to review, it's important to understand the ground cannot help you make a catch, but that doesn't mean that if the ball touches the ground, it's incomplete. So the guideline on that is if you have secured the ball and it hits the ground, the ball can even move slightly in the hands and it can still be a catch. What can't happen is when the ball hits the ground, the ball becomes loose in the hands. So there's a difference between the ball maybe pivoting a little bit in the hands or sliding a little bit in the hands and the ball becoming loose. But remember, when in doubt, we wipe it out. So whatever the ruling on the field is, if we go to replay, we need something that's, indisputable to flip that to the other side.
Yeah, and I've stopped it right here, and I have two hands on top of the football, pulling the football back off the ground. I think this is enough indisputable video evidence, seeing the two hands on top of the football and pulling it off the ground. So I think the crew did a great job communicating on the field. Body language from the back judge was great. And if the crew came out as a catch with this, there's enough video evidence here of the hands are on top, pulling that football off the ground.
Yeah, it'd be hard to, with the speed of that ball, to have your hands on top of it and have it secured. So, yeah, I agree with you there.
All right, clock awareness on these next two. So, new rule this year, we have a 2-minute timeout. Officials, even though we're in a routine of it, do not stop talking about it, especially in stadiums when all officials do not see the clock. We have the side judge, we have the back judge, we have the field judge with their backs to the clock. But what we wind up having here is right now we are at the 2-minute timeout segment. No official catches it, and if we watch this back, he's going to false start. And the referee correctly rules this false start. And that's when the crew recognizes that we're under the 2-minute timeout. So by rule, they do exactly what they should do. There is no foul in the play for a false start due to the 2-minute timeout happening prior to the foul. So Monty, you were talking about clock operators. What do you expect clock operators to do if the officials don't stop this game at 2 minutes? What should those clock operators do in this situation?
Yeah, number one thing when you meet with your clock operators, you tell them they do not start or stop the clock on their own. They stop or start the clock on our signals. So make sure you cover this situation where, hey, if it gets to 2 minutes and we don't stop it, no one on the field stops it, you let it keep running. This should have went down like 156. And we've got our clock operators are assigned by the Big Ten, so they're not like local guys. They're at our meeting on Friday nights, and one thing our referee says every single week to them is, you only do what we do on the field with our signals. So if there's a mistake with the clock, we want it to be where we made the mistake. We don't want it to be where the game clock operator starts or stops the clock because he thinks it should be stopped or started. Because if he does it, we don't know why. But if there's something, an error with the clock, then we didn't do anything, we can figure out what we did or did not do and make the correction. So that's the number one thing to talk to your clock operator about is this should have just kept going.
Yep.
And then when, side judge, you're the clock guy, side judge, field judge for the game clock. So when you're, if you only got one clock like this on one end of the field and your back is to it, you need to tell that referee, hey, we're coming up on 2 minutes. The clock is yours. So he's aware of that and remind him of that. Don't just assume he knows it. And then we could have made that a little smoother.
Yep. So same game. This is still the same end of the half. So we're second quarter, 1 minute and 10 seconds, 4th down and short. So no matter what happens on this play, we are killing the clock. This is a clock killer. So crews, use your 020. No matter what happens, we're killing the clock. Also, recommendation, not every play, because there's a lot of plays underneath 2 minutes, but every play the clock is dead. Get on the 020 and let your crew know what the game clock is when we are under 2 minutes and the clock is cold. So as we get this play going, it's at 1 minute, 10 seconds. We have a first down, and we come up with an open hand. Remember, when we're under 2 minutes, after the 2 minute timeout, we should all be killing the clock here. And now the clock's at 1 minute and 10 seconds.
If you got that under 2 minute, that 2 minute timeout game card that I sent out a few weeks ago, it's got that on there as a reminder. When you meet for the 2 minutes, if you read that card, hey, we're stopping the clock on a first down, the remaining time. That's one of the reminders. And another one is everyone be, very aware of the clock and if it starts or stops when it should, to prevent something like this. And you already had the clock operator who, stopped the clock on his own when he shouldn't have. So I'm going to be even a little more hyper aware that hey, this guy's maybe not quite where we want him to be, so we need to make sure and double check everything.
So clock is not reviewable in the Great Plains Athletic Conference. So Monty, knowing that we can't go to review, can we use common sense and take any time off this clock, knowing that it was 110 before the snap and still set at 110 after the play?
Oh yeah, all you got to do is talk about it and say, what do we think? 3 seconds for that play, 2 seconds, and then you make that adjustment and make that announcement over the field, Mike.
Yeah, and be on the conservative side. So if one person says 2 seconds, one person says 3 seconds, go with the 2 seconds.
Yep.
All right, we had some earlier plays in the league where we have grab and snatch down to the ground. This is a technique that is taught and is legal, and this is called a chop down, where the offensive lineman keeps his hands open and continues to help push the defensive player's momentum into the ground. So we're watching the snapper here.
Yeah, his hands are going to go above him, and then when that player goes low, he's just going to push him down to the ground. He doesn't grab and pull and snatch him down. And I think really, we just got fooled again and probably didn't see the whole play, and just saw, him pushed him down to the ground, but didn't know how he got there. Did he get there by pulling him and snatching him down, or just pushed him down? And if we don't see the whole action, we can't rule on it. So if we did see it and weren't aware of that, now if you watch this training tape, you're going to understand the difference between a grab and a snatch pull down versus letting them get underneath that offensive player and just chopping down and pushing him down.
Yeah, so officials, if you have plays like this and coaches are looking for an explanation of how it's not, this is another thing we could put in our tool belt to communicate. I don't have a grab and snatch. I have a chop and push down to the ground, which is legal. This next one, we're going to skip that one. Monty, we're going to go to this pooch kick catch interference, and then really focus on what the umpire and back judges should do on a short kick, on a squib kick, or on a pooch kick like this one.
Yeah, so, normally our umpire and back just come on the field. Obviously, if it's a regular onside, a one bounce or a dribbler, you would not come on the field. But this is another time when, just delay your coming on the field until you really see what happens. Because if we got a pooch that is less than 20 yards, just stay on the sideline. And if you're unsure if it's going to go 20, just stay on the sideline. You're better off being there if you're in doubt than coming out onto the field. But this is 100% KCI, and we just need to understand that rule, and we did that. Whether he signals or not, any inbounds player, the receiving team, if he could catch a free kick or scrimmage kick beyond the neutral zone, they must be given an unimpeded opportunity to do so. Now, this Team B player actually signals, legal signal for a fair catch. And remember, what that legal signal does is it gives him an extended opportunity, extra protection. So if he would signal fair catch legally and muff this ball up in the air where he still can complete the catch, he still could not be interfered with. That's the advantage of giving a legal fair catch signal. You get that extra protection. Even without the signal, though, you are protected from being able to make the catch. So a good pickup for KCI, and good knowledge now of knowing when to not come in the field. And Sean, we should talk sometime if we want to change our onside mechanics of who's going to be on K's line, because we have. Yep. And I think it's next year.
Yeah. We'll talk about it after the off season.
Okay.
Another reminder, this is a pooch kick. If this were a pop-up kick, this fair catch signal, even though it touched the ground one time, this receiver would still be awarded that same protection and extended protection on a pop-up kick where that ball touches the ground one time and goes immediately up in the air. All right, the next clip here is talking about moving forward at the snap while in motion. And this is more of a philosophy thing that goes in. So we have a clear player in motion, and this is what we call shaving. And what we mean by shaving is, yes, he is gaining an angle towards the line of scrimmage, but he's not shaving to block. He's not moving forward abruptly. He's not at the line of scrimmage at the snap. So even though he is slightly moving forward at the snap, we are not going to call this illegal motion. We're not going to split hairs because this receiver is not going to block. He's not at the line of scrimmage, and he is not simulating a snap. Monty, anything to add on that player slightly moving forward at the snap?
Yeah, it's one of those we talked about of we don't want these 5-yard penalties to screw up a good game, and we don't want to nitpick these. This is a formation type foul, and we just want it to be a lot more obvious than this.
Do not major in the minors. This is the last training clip today, and this is what we're talking about when it comes to roughness fouls. And when in doubt, we're going to put officials in a judgment situation. We are going to support throwing a flag for fouls that are going to incite roughness with the intention of preventing the inciteness. But officials, our bulletin this week is going to focus on things that are in the CCA manual that aren't heard all the time. So ball carrier giving themselves up. And what we mean by in this play, giving themselves up, the line that gains the 38, and the ball carrier is going to actually wind up slowing down and going straight to the sideline at the 36. So that's 2 yards short of the line to gain. That is a clear indication he is not continuing to move forward for the first down. And after that, he is hit forcibly right at the sideline after he gives himself up. So correctly ruled late hit. Now what does continue on here is a second late hit as a reaction. So we have the first hit, and then we're going to have number 55 coming in here and hit. So we now have 2 late hits. And then we have opponents in the sideline. So Monty, you're a side judge. When you have situations like this, what is the best advice you could give officials to get the players out and also get offenders who are in the team area and they're not in the game to enforce any other future penalties?
Yeah, first of all, the first person who gets in, his responsibility is to go in and literally grab that player who's on the opponent's sideline and get him out. If there's 2 guys, both the first 2 guys in should just be grabbing and getting them out. You actually wrap your arms around them and pull them out and get them out safely. In the meantime, if something's going on, if you can get numbers, that's great. Then you can identify if someone's in the game or not in the game. But and if this 55 comes to the aid of his quarterback, which he's going to, that doesn't mean he has a free shot. So if he comes in and just pushes that guy a little bit or stands up to him and grabs him a little bit, that's one thing. He comes and gets that guy a pretty good jack. So we got to flag that one as well.
So 2 other things on this play. If you're going to notice, there's no back judge on this play. So we had an injury on the crew. So alternate officials watching these training tapes during these last 3 weeks of the seasons, if you want to be part of game day experience with the crew, we will use you as an alternate official. If an official gets injured, you get on the field and you get to help with this, because this was the ideal back judge play. The second thing, I want to commend the coaching staff from Doane. All keeping the players on their sideline when this all happens. You see about 4 coaches come out here for Doane, making sure no other players are coming out onto the field to participate in a fight across the field, and also the officials are doing the same thing. So commend the coaching staff from Doane of preventing any other players to get into the scuffle, and good job by the officials of getting that player out as quickly and as safely as possible. But if anybody in the team area does anything to opponent, we need an unsportsmanlike conduct. At minimum, if you don't know who did it, a bench unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on the play. Well, that does do it for training tape number 10. Monty, once again, thank you for joining us. Safe travels to your game this week, and we look forward to talking with you again for training tape number 11. Officials, have safe travels, work hard, have fun, and remember, you're only as good as your last call.